Hey, we are live. Hello, everybody. We've got about 20 different countries represented with all of our registrants. It's really exciting to see how technology works. So we've got Claudia, our speaker today. Uh,
Hello.
Before I introduce Claudia, I just want to go through some housekeeping. First of all, there's going to be a Q&A session. This presentation is going to be about 20 minutes. Um, As your questions come to you while you're listening to Claudia make her presentation, write the questions in the chat box. Depending on whether you're on your phone, depending what kind of phone, and then depending if you're on a desktop, the chat box is in a slightly different spot. It looks like a chat icon. Um, Otherwise, email them to me at kim@mendability.com. What I'm going to do during the Q&A is I'm going to read to Claudia the questions that you've sent us. If you have technical difficulties during the presentation, don't worry. We are recording it, and we'll send you a link to the replay soon. And the third thing I wanted to say is in my last email about this presentation, I mentioned a coupon. So stay till the end, and hopefully you will like the surprise that we have for you there. So Claudia has prepared some really interesting information about stress and learning and children in school, and put together six steps that you can take when a child comes home from school to not only help them recover from the stress that they incurred at school, but also build over time more resilience. Of course, it's not the full sensory enrichment therapy program, but these are some pretty powerful generic steps that should help everybody. For those of you who don't know Claudie has worked in hospitals, daycares, educational settings in France, Canada, the US, Australia for over 30 years. Her university studies led her to develop an expertise in sensory stimulation and its impact on brain development. Claudia has developed a unique program designed to prompt brain regeneration and the rebalancing of neurotransmitters. And we've worked now with 6,000 families, I believe it is. And currently, she oversees the sensory enrichment therapy protocols at Mendability. Um, Claudie, the floor is yours. I'm going to now start the presentation slides. Let's start. Here we go.
One of the questions that the parent asks is, how come my child is so out of sorts coming back from school? Ideally, we would like to see this child on this picture, but the reality is kind of different. And most of you have welcomed very different children from coming back from school. Kim is going to show us the slide, the picture, the model of the children that come back from school. I want to apologize. That's the picture I wanted. I want to apologize before I continue. I have my favorite in the world chair that I will not change for the world, but it is very noisy. So I apologize ahead of time. You're going
Trying all
to
sorts. There's so much WD-40 that's gone into this chair, and it still squeaks. It's crazy.
yeah, but I won't give up on it. It helps. So coming back to how do our kids come back from school hyper anxious, then why? What is going on during the day that makes them that way? So the question is school doing something to our children? And of course, once we know a little bit more about what could be the problems, we're going to find some solutions. So what about school? We are going to agree, all of us, that our kids who have sensory difficulties process the environment very differently. And school gives them a lot of information. Sensory overload comes in many aspects. And for example, a picture of a classroom that is a very typical as school in Canada, the US, in Europe. in Australia. I haven't been in everywhere, but Kim is going to show us this classroom that is the cause of some of the exhaustion from the children. That is sensory overload. It is overwhelming me. I don't know for you. The teachers have the best intent of putting reminders about everything they have studied this week, reminding what they studied last year and maybe next month. It is, to some extent, rather pretty by small sections. The child sees that, and the colors, the shapes, the movement of the object is way too much on a visual standpoint. It is true for the sounds as well. Every sound is processed by our children at the same level. It is either the sound of the pen on the paper, it is the sound of a chair that is moving, it is the sound of the other children whispering or screaming. So we want to understand what is going on and how much information is there mixed up inside our children's brain, and then what happens. So there is a sensory overload, but there is details of that overload that can be almost so insidious that we don't pay attention to it. Scientists have paid attention to it. And you're going to listen to some of what they discovered when they exposed the children to the typical classroom and evaluated their measure of learning and focusing. You see the numbers right now. It is frightening. And the difference it made when there was nothing else but the desk and the material in front of the child. Let's listen to that scientist.
One of the things we're interested is development of children's ability to sustain attention for an extended period of time, such that when you're listening to a lesson or trying to do your homework. And it's a well-known finding in this area that distractibility decreases with age. Not that college students are not distractible, we all are, but not quite as much as 5, 6, and 7-year-olds. And in that sense, there is somewhat of a paradox, a conflict between what we know as developmental psychologists and what the physical environment in a classroom is for the youngest children. If you go to a school, typically the amount of stuff goes down as the grades go up. College students typically face pretty empty classrooms, but classrooms for kindergartners are just filled with stuff. Interesting stuff, educationally relevant stuff, important stuff, but there is a lot of it. And they spend the whole day there. They don't change classrooms, so you have your maps and number lines and shapes and everything that they might need during the whole day. Specifically for this study, we were thinking that it's possible that having a lot of educationally relevant but bright objects in the classroom might distract children from the primary lesson. And we thought that through being distracted, through being off task, children might learn less from a lesson that was being taught. And we also observed that they had smaller learning gains when they were placed in this very brightly decorated classroom.
If we put children in a classroom environment that has these potential sources of visual distraction, and then if we remove those, are we just going to shift children's pattern of attention allocation, or are we going to reduce the total amount of time that children are spending off task? So it could be that even if you were to take down these visual displays, that children might then just pay more attention to peers, and that the total amount of time that kids are being distracted remains the same. And so that was an important part of the research too, because a lot of the prior work had only looked at when children are on or off task, but not really what they're doing while they're off task.
We did find evidence for this trade-off that Carrie just mentioned, that it was a big open question, something we really didn't know what would happen. Basically, young kids are distractible, they'll find something to be distracted by. But nonetheless, there was an overall effect of the type of environment that when you counted all of the time that they spent off task, overall, they spent more time off task when the room was brightly decorated. So we started with children who didn't know anything, and then we measured how much.
So that is almost frightening information, isn't it? And we definitely want to help the children that as much as we can. Note that this study was done with children without specific difficulties. So imagine for the children on the spectrum, children with ADHD, who have so much difficulty processing the environment already. So we have, at some point, had a chance to look at things. And Kim, you can tell us about these pictures.
Yeah, so some schools have I've started to implement some of the recommendations based on the findings of this study. And you can see that how just little redecorating and removing the flashy colors, making an environment that's more soothing feels so much nicer to the eye. So imagine kids who are in a classroom that's full of reds and blues and purples all the time compared to a nice, muted, neutral colored room.
And because our presentation today is not about changing the classroom, it is about understanding what is going on. And the next video may give you another sense, another dimension of how does it feel to have sensory overload.
Yeah, this video was produced by a family where one of the children has autism, and they asked her, what does it feel like? And they tried to recreate what it feels like to be in a situation and try and process everything, the sensory overload and the requests.
I can't wait for a coffee. Oh, hello, barista.
What do you girls want?
Skim soy latte? Taryn, soy can't be skim.
Hot chocolate, orange juice.
No, Dad, I want a coffee. Hot chocolate? Great.
So I was thinking of going to Sarah's later. Could you give me a ride?
Yeah, sure. Are you cool with taking your sister?
Yeah.
Wait, what? I have my own plan.
Carly.
Okay, I'll see you tonight, okay?
Focus. Hey, sweetheart. It's okay. Carly, how can I help?
This is a very emotional video to watch when you think about your child is in this situation where people don't understand what he is wanting, why is he uncomfortable, why does he scream when he's in the classroom. So what is the effect of that when the scientists found so much decrease of the learning? We can put all this into one word: cortisol. Cortisol is what your...
Give me
Yes?
1 second. Let's get straight to the cortisol slide, and then we'll go back
Okay.
to the pressure to perform slide.
Yes. This way you can read and reread if you wish once you have the video and can stop on it, the effect of cortisol on the system. It has a devastating effect on the brain. It is also impacting the muscle mass. Cortisol stress decreases muscle mass. It decreases the number of branches on neurons. It destroys serotonin. It will make some of the neurons weaker and weaker until they are killed. The only thing that can destroy neurons and communication between areas of the brain is stress or pain, which is dealt with the same way inside the brain. So less serotonin, impacted dopamine, difficulty breathing, heart rate increase. This is the condition where a child at school with sensory overload is, because it is so difficult to explain everything that is going wrong because the child cannot really explain what is wrong. So this is why your child comes back from school and finally feeling free to express. He is going to show you the picture of his emotional status, which is the child that we have seen. But now we're going to talk about how to get this one child, the peaceful, relaxed boy or girl who is able to be a child and be able maybe to do some homework. So let's now go to that moment when the door opens and your child is in the house. You want to prepare that moment. You want to sort of put away the clutter. There is clutter in every house where there are children, and in particular, I would say when there are children on the spectrum who are very, very busy manipulating, running around. You can have the clutter box for before your child comes back from school, have maybe a little piece of furniture where you can hide things that are colorful, that are misplaced, so that there is a soothing atmosphere for everybody. So a peaceful environment, that means also diminishing the amount of light and the amount of sound. Dim the lights. If it's not dark outside and you don't have lights, then pull a little bit the blinds. You want less light, less visual information to process. And as far as everything else, any device, if you can switch them off and not get other children unhappy, make sure at least that the phones are either off or on vibrate, because most of sound of devices are very uncomfortable for the children. They are signals of something that they maybe are not ready to have.
Sorry,
So,
it's like too early.
yeah, I'm there. Now we have the child inside the house, and he is taking off his clothes, his shoes, his coat. This is the protocol you are going to love, and you are going to be able to use anytime there is really too much emotion, too much stress that your child is expressing. We call it very simply strawberry and ice. Guess what? We need the scent of a strawberry, either a real strawberry that is maybe not the best idea when they come back from school. So you want to have the scent into a tissue. If you have found a food flavoring, strawberry and ice, as you see on the picture, simply an ice pack. The first thing you do is offer the ice pack to your child. Ask him to hold it with 2 hands. And as he is doing that for only 2 seconds, you put the scent under his nose. What is then happening is instant. First, the sensation of very cold is a danger message for the brain. So whatever sort of mess is inside the brain because of the sensory overload, then it calms down, it settles. And then you bring the scent. So simultaneously you have calm of the brain activity, and you have an increase of the good mood messenger, which is called dopamine. Any smell that is pleasant will increase dopamine function and the production, but strawberry in particular, because it travels very fast in the brain from the nose to what is called the amygdala, which is the emotion container in the brain. So that's your first thing. You suddenly have a child who is already much calmer, but feeling good and happy to be home. The next thing, well, a bath. So we are going to add to that wonderful bath that is not a clean time bath, is a pleasure time bath. A few drops of lavender essential oil to make it smell wonderful. Again, smell improves mood, memory, motivation, but also increases serotonin, which is relaxation. But you don't want to waste this good water and this good bath time, so you give to your child those big natural sponges that are so soft, and you put some of your favorite soap that you usually use for your child on that sponge, and look at that. We have a bubble bath. The body temperature settles. Either it's too hot outside or it's too cold. You want serotonin to stop being wasted by trying to keep the body at the right temperature. Children who are overexcited are often very hot. Having a bath is going to regulate body temperature, is going to settle the activity of the heart, of breathing, maybe the tension in the muscles. So you can basically take a book or put music on and just enjoy the moment of calm with your child. When he's ready to get out, you wrap this child with a warm towel. It's a very important factor, and have him enjoy as much as possible the wonderful calm that he had. How about massage? Right after the bath, here is a little video that you can find on our website when you are a parent doing the therapy. This wonderful mom lives in Hong Kong. She does the therapy absolutely amazingly. I can say it because I see the videos. I don't see all the videos for everybody, but you can see the state of this kid. And what is lovely is when he gives his other hand to mom to continue the massage. Not all children tolerate massage, but because soft massage, is excellent for the brain and for serotonin, you can start by just the top of the hand, maybe the tip of the fingers, until this child was relaxed, is also extending additional comfort in his skin. So we have already 4 things. We have the house that we take care of, we have the strawberry and ice, we have the bath, we have the massage. So we are going to go next to offering a snack. It's time to eat. We don't want to eat right after we come back from school. We need some time to enjoy it and to make good use of it. So we would like a healthy snack, like it's shown here, with fun and creativity, but a snack is a snack. So that will be a wonderful time to do one of our other little piece of beauty and comfort for your child, which we call gentle claw and smell. As he is sitting and eating a food that he enjoys, your child is going to be smelling the fruit, smelling the juice, smelling something beautiful, at the same time as you give a very soft and slow back rub with the tip of your fingers. This way you have 5 lines drawing irregular little lines of comfort. Your child may have a chill, take a big breath. That means serotonin is going up. This part of your protocols to get wonderful state after school is really important, and don't hesitate to use it more than just after school. Now we are ready to have some brain work. We have given the child comfort, we have relaxed, we have increased motivation. Now we're going to get him ready for the rest of the day by giving a very high level of brain organization and focus. We have 2 exercises here. One would be more for the nonverbal child who may not understand complicated information that doesn't make sense, such as walking on a 2x4. That surely doesn't make sense. And he will be walking on textures, all kind of funky, funny textures. What is important, definitely the variety, but also very dynamic information. If you go again on our website or look at our exercises on YouTube, Mendability, you'll see the type of textures that we're using.
Hey, Claudia, I've got the video instructions for both those ready to load if you want to play them.
Well, I want to try to be a little short to give time for questions. So
Sure.
that's why I'm indicating to the families, go and watch the full videos, and then you can really implement. There is a commentary, so it's very easy to do. The two purposes of those exercises is to get the brain into a focus time, focusing on the textures that he feels through the foot sole. We do not walk on 5 or 6 different textures, a different one for each step. So that is telling the brain to focus on the information from the foot. And of course, it's the longest pathways all the way to the brain. So that is going to increase serotonin, increase the number of connections to process the environment. And as far as the 2x4, it sort of forces the brain to focus and create a different gait. We do not walk one foot in front of the other. That's not how we walk in nature. For that little exercise, the child has to. This will increase the awareness of self and, of course, the awareness of the environment. The second thing we do that is not something that is spontaneous is the positioning. On the first video, the child is holding a teddy bear on his head, and on the second video, he's holding a cookie tray, metal tray by pressure on both sides, not holding in a typical way. This also is going to increase the level of serotonin production and function and create, again, more pathways, more connections in the brain, because we do something new that is not dangerous, it is just interesting. So your child is now ready. If there is homework, we can start to do that. Or if we need just to be a child and have fun with his peers, with his siblings, this will now happen. We have different activities that we have created in our newsletters. Go on our website, read the articles on the blog, and if you're not yet on our newsletter, you will receive those very funny and sensory-enriched activities that you can add to the activities of the end of the day to even more improve the function of this beautiful brain that your child owns. So, do we have questions now that we can answer?
Yeah, we have a few questions, mostly about the smell and strawberry, I see. We've got a couple of other questions about snack. But before I go into answering those questions, I wanted to make sure that you had my contact details. And so at the end of the video, I'll make sure that that slide is at the end with my phone number, the email address, and I'll talk about the coupon.
Yeah.
I thought for this webinar, there's something that we've been thinking about for a while, and it's the idea of a satisfaction guarantee. It feels almost, it feels strange that a therapeutic, the therapy would offer a guarantee, but we've been doing this now with 6,000 families, and it's really amazing how consistent the progress is across the board. There are some kids that progress more slowly than with others, especially those who have a hard time cooperating and spending time one-on-one with the parents, and those who have high tactile sensitivities. We work with both those situations, but they're definitely on the lower end of the spectrum when it comes to rapid improvement. But besides that, everybody progresses very consistently. And so we're quite confident telling you that if you want to sign up with this particular code, Back to School 2019, it's a bit of an experiment for us. We will give you a 30-day guarantee. So you have 30 days, you do the exercises that are prescribed, and if you don't like what you see for whatever reason, you've tried it and it just didn't work, then we'll just give you your money back, cancel your account, and then give your money back. And there's a $10 off for the first month as well. I had to, when you set up a promotion on our system, you had to give a discount amount. So I thought, hey, might as well give you $10 off as well. So Back to School 2019 is the code to use if you're not doing the program yet, or if you have some friends that you think would benefit. That's a good way to tell them, hey, there's a 30-day guarantee. If it doesn't work for you, nothing lost. So let's go to the Q&A now. So I'll start with Ellie, who says, what other scents, like strawberry, are most effective for the brain? That's a loaded question with lots of possible answers to this.
Yeah, no, in fact, this is a question that so many parents ask. And they ask that question because unfortunately people in businesses of oils make some statements that some of them have had problem with because they would say this will cure that, and the reality is that any pleasant smell will improve dopamine production and serotonin production. However, there was a study done with very few smells. One of them I mentioned, and two of them I mentioned: lavender, strawberry, orange, lemon, and vanilla. So scientists studied the impact of those smells, but they only studied the ability of those smells to help with relaxation. That's all. They did not try with any functional or any kind of movement disorder, anything. We have a lot to tell you about this, so please don't hesitate. We have a lot of answers, I believe, to some questions on that type, but there is no specific oil that will do more as far as other disorders, but mood, motivation, memory, any good smell will help with that. The strawberry is a very long story that I don't have time to tell you about, but call me and I'll tell you. It's a very beautiful story from the hospital for sick children in Paris. How did I start using strawberry? So almost a long question and a long answer. There you go.
Well, I know the long story, so that was a very short version of the answer.
Okay.
What kind of strawberry smell in particular? A couple of mothers responded actually. Christy said, I've been using strawberry jam. And Nadine said, you mentioned not to offer fresh strawberries for the smell. Why not? So I think those three questions are more or less the same.
Yeah, no, I did add a few things after that. Maybe I said that too quick. When the child is in a state of anxiety and is just back from school, if you come around with a strawberry, he may not be very happy. We'll think, oh, she wants to force me with a fruit or whatever. It's not the perfect time. Strawberries smell wonderful. They do not smell very strongly, but they do smell wonderful. So you totally can use a strawberry if you can prevent wanting to grab and eat, because it's one thing at a time. We want something that smells beautifully yummy. That's a very scientific term. Yummy, very sugary candy-like smell. This is what was used in the studies, and this is what we use ourselves here, or we advise parents. But if it smells strawberry, we're good. It's a good smell.
Yeah, I think you explained in one of the other seminars we've done that younger children who don't use their sense of smell a lot tend to prefer first food-related sweet smells, right? And so strawberry is like that perfect combination of food and sweet.
Absolutely.
Because there are some aromatherapy blends that are supposed to calm you, but they're very sophisticated sort of taste smells. There's one thing, I don't know if you mentioned it, but what's important is that the kids love the smell. We don't really care what it smells like. We just want them to feel, oh, that smells so yummy, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And if you don't have anything around that is strawberry, go for something else. Just squeeze, for example, a peel of orange in a tissue. Go for what is free. Go for what is simple. Because parents' life is way too complicated to go shopping and find things. So look around the house. This is what Temple Grandin has said. One of the things she likes about our therapy is we use things that are already in the house.
I got a good question that was sent by email. This one says, my kid hates smelling. He will run away if I come to him with a smell. What do you suggest?
Well, this happens a lot, especially in the very beginning. Know that children on the spectrum do not know how to sniff. This is something that comes with experience. So what you want to do is put something on your scarf, put your thing on your wrist, and cuddle. If your child is breathing, he will be smelling. You cannot force a child to anything. At least Mendability will never, ever force kids to do anything. So if you smell wonderful, well, the child will know it and will smell. You can also have a diffuser in the house. As long as you breathe, the good smells go in.
A couple of other questions. One has to do with the promotion. How long is it available? I've made that coupon active until the middle of September, so almost a month. And after the middle of September, if you try to use the code, it probably won't work. Just give us a call. Here's another question. My son loves to side gaze while smelling. Is something happening inside him?
Well, this is something also that children on the spectrum know very well how to do. They have more activity, more connection in their visual system than the typical person. So he may be able to see something really interesting on the side, which we would not notice. They have seen something absolutely unusual in some kids, which is they can see the same value of visual information at the same time, central vision and side vision. So there is nothing to be worried about because smelling is only having good effects for the brain. So maybe he's daydreaming, and so yes, something is happening in his brain. Dopamine is getting up, and that makes him really happy.
Okay, one last one that was sent by email about the snacks. What kind of snacks do you recommend?
That is a question that we are not nutritionists, and while I have my opinions because I informed myself, I would totally leave the parents as this decision maker on that end. I recommend what's healthy, but I respect the child before I think about nutrition. Before they start therapy, the children are very picky, and a snack can become a catastrophe. So prepare a snack of what he wants, and gradually as you do therapy, you'll see that this child is going to diversify. So the snack, something he loves, and if he loves fruit, yay, he will have some good fruit to eat.
Yeah, I picked the picture. We know where they built
Yeah,
coconut tree with slices of
yeah,
banana and kiwi leaves. And it came from your seminar on eating differentiation. You call it
yeah.
DIN 911, how to help children eat their vegetables.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that you had on there was to allow the kids to play with their food, which sounds a bit messy and countercultural. But the idea
Well,
that they can interact with the food in other ways than just ingesting them would facilitate proper
mhm.
development of the brain. Do you want to talk about that
you,
for a couple of minutes? I know
well,
we're running over.
you mentioned culture. I would say that almost half of the families I work with are from India or Saudi Arabia and UAE. The children are allowed to touch things. In fact, they're invited, and a lot of families eat from the dish, and it's wonderful. There is texture. There is also self-control, the ability of doing for yourself. Self-feeding is a triumph on life. So I would put aside hygiene and polite and all the good things that we have in some of the countries we work with, and let come in all the sensory information that is available.
We just had one last question come in, and I think it's a really good one. So I think we'll end it. We'll end it with this one. But I wanted to make sure we one through it. My son does not like the strawberry and ice protocol. He won't allow me to place the ice on his hand. What can I do?
Well, you can use a wet cloth, which will anyways be of a different temperature. You look for a contrast. And if he hates it, he may be quite reasonable person. It's not something that's pleasant. It is very surprising. So I would say it's a kind of normal that some kids resist. I also have kids, nonverbal, who when they feel very tense, point to the freezer and they are telling mom, I need it. So respect what your child is saying and talk and say, it's really going to be good for you. Then take a cloth and wrap his head. Maybe you can tell, okay, I'm going to rinse your hands really, really well and you'll feel better. So temperature is important, and of course the smell.
And yeah, you can also use other parts of the body, right, Claudia? You don't have to use the hands necessarily.
No, absolutely. The hands are easy to access, but you could have maybe not the eyes, but again, the face cloth wet on the neck or on the back of the head, on the knees, whatever is visible. Remember that wherever you're touching, it ends up at the same spot in the brain. So, yeah, any place in the brain, on the body will work.
All right. I have no other questions. Thank you very much for those who submitted these questions. They're very useful. What we're going to do is turn this webinar into a proper article that you can read and watch the video. We'll include the links to the videos that Claudia mentioned. So watch for an email in your inbox in a week or so. Give us some time to process all of that information. But thank you very much for joining us today. I hope this was really useful. We went over by a few minutes. I'm sorry. But hopefully we'll do a better job of that next time.
Okay, goodbye.